Good morning or evening or wherever you're coming from here at the Bitcoin Daily. This is Craig LeBlanc, host and founder of the Bitcoin Daily Network. We have our Bitcoin Daily Show airing every day, 8 to 10 a.m. on X. And on Saturdays, we have an extra show after our 10 a.m. That runs from 10 to 12. So if you're looking for great Bitcoin content, every show is different topics, different show hosts. Today was our Philosophy Sunday, and what a great show we had. We talked about AI, we talked about what is love, and according to Surfer Jim, and I have to agree, he says, had one of the better definitions. He said, Bitcoin is love. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that. Plus, I wanted to tell you a little bit about each of the shows and the show hosts, just so that y'all can keep updated as to the changes and what we're doing. Appreciate everybody that tunes in every morning. We've become quite a part of many people's daily routines. And I can tell you, I've had a blast producing content for the Bitcoin community from that 8 to 10 a.m. slot Eastern here on X Spaces. If you don't know what X Spaces is, you can come on and receive live content. I'm shocked at how many people just are even aware that they're on Twitter, they're on X, but they've never messed around with Spaces. And so Spaces is one of those things you can swipe over under your profile and you can see something's called Spaces, and you can type in just about any kind of content you want to listen to. Type in hashtag Bitcoin and you'll see us as a daily show. It's live content. And some of the guests we bring up, you might be following their YouTube channel. They might be semi-famous in the Bitcoin space. We bring them onto our space and you get a chance to interact with them live and in person right there on your phone. We do 2 hours of live content every day for the last 220 days. We've got some really gifted show hosts that are really coming into their own. Many of these are already professionals in the part of Bitcoin they chose to represent and create content on. 8 shows airing 7 days a week. As I said, 220 episodes deep. We will soon be releasing these on podcast, among other things. Right now, they really only exist here on X, but we'll be trying to get those out. So why might you need to listen to 2 hours of content each day? And I can tell you this from experience, is Bitcoin is not something that's easily understood. Bitcoin takes some time. Talk about proof of work. You might think you understand Bitcoin, but just give yourself another 10, 100 hours and you'll look back on today and be like, man, I really did not know what I was looking at. The rabbit hole keeps getting deeper and deeper. And coming from someone who has been on this train since 2017, but really didn't start my educational journey till 2020, and probably not till 2023 did I do a super deep dive. I am still learning every day as a host, learning from our speakers, learning from the authors that come on our show, and I see no end in sight. And I am often and every show humbled by the depth of knowledge that our guest speakers and even our regulars come up and share with us. Answering questions from the audience, I look at some of their answers and am blown away at the depth that they have by dedicating a little time and effort to studying what this actually is. I think to understand Bitcoin, you really have to start by saying, what is money? And so that's going to be the biggest part of your journey, is understanding what money is. What is property? What is censorship? What are all these things that Bitcoin is a great tool for? And then Bitcoin starts to reveal itself as a solution to many of the world's problems. Okay, so today's show is Philosophy Sunday. This is the only show that I host. I show up to a lot of the other shows. I'm a speaker in the audience. Sometimes I can contribute. Sometimes the thing's just going so well, I just have nothing to add because the content is just so spot on. I'll come up and say hello every now and then. But Sunday, however, I love philosophy. I've always been a student of it. I don't consider myself an amateur philosopher, but occasionally I might have something decent to say, just because I've heard so much people in my audience come and say some pretty profound things. So really, I'm just repeating what they say. Aren't we all doing that? So today we talked about AI. But what I really want to focus on is Surfer Jim and how he said Bitcoin is love. Now, this was an interesting take, and I'm not going to speak long on this because if you really want to listen to the content, just go listen to the 2-hour show this morning, 8 to 10. It's still on X, so you can replay it. But why is Bitcoin love? Well, if theft, taking, stealing, robbing people against their will, taking their stuff, taking their money, could be the opposite of love. That they've worked and they put all their time and creativity and effort to then trade it for something that they can trade in the future, maybe for food, maybe to help a family member, and now you're taking this from them. Bitcoin comes in and now allows you to stop the theft in its tracks. Bitcoin, as we all know, is unconfiscatable. Doesn't mean you can't lose it. Doesn't mean that someone couldn't do a 5-wrench attack on you, but it really demonetizes violence. Super cheaply, you can just get a cold storage wallet, get an email, store your Bitcoin in several of these, and to break a 12-word seed phrase, the attacker would have to spend so much time and effort to get, who knows, maybe you only have 100 Bitcoin in that wallet. And so it wouldn't be long before people trying to steal Bitcoiners' money with decent operational security in cold storage that they would just give up and look for softer targets. And so it allows you to play fair in this market. It allows honesty, demands integrity. And I really love Jim's definition of Bitcoin is love. Really good content, probably for about a straight hour from the 9 to 10 a.m. slot. We really just had multiple speakers come up on stage. I wanted to thank Ben from BTC Sessions and BJ from the big Canadian trucker movement. They both came on stage. And I just wanted to shout out to anybody creating in the Bitcoin space that I hope you do realize that much like the forefathers of the United States of America probably didn't think that they were going to survive this or do anything special, that they might go down in history as the biggest slaughter any colony has ever seen. But now look at them. They're famous. We look at them with such courage. We look at them with such admiration for the courage they had. And I think these early Bitcoin content creators are going to go down in the same way, that we're going to look back 50 to 100 years, maybe after these men have passed away, and saying, wow, those were the founding fathers of the greatest digital nation ever to exist. And I think we are entering in a Renaissance period where wealth creation for the value creators, those that are creating value, the power is going to swing back into their direction. That no longer will thieves hold sway and power over our world, not near as much as they used to. And you actually have to work and earn Bitcoin, that it cannot be stolen and printed and rehypothecated or devalued by just decree. And so I think it's a great time to be creating content here. It's an honor to create content for y'all. So with that being said, I'll go ahead and wrap this up by just telling you about our 8 shows. Tomorrow, Monday, is Meetup Monday. Now, we all know that you and me need community. Community can provide for us a sense of belonging, support, identity. And look, guys, you are who you hang around. If you show me 5 losers that are your best friends, you're going to be loser number 6. You show me 5 winners that are your best friends, you're going to be winner number 6. So surround yourself by good people. This is just a general rule for life, a great rule for life. And I can tell you, I can speak on behalf of the Bitcoiners that I've met. These are some great people. They obviously have to have more paycheck at the end of the week. That means they've created extra value. So they're value creators. Okay, and they're obviously looking for some place to store this value where it won't be stolen. And they've stumbled across Bitcoin. Now, to even consider Bitcoin, you can't be a know-it-all, because everything you know, Bitcoin kind of flies in the face of. So that means they're pretty humble people. Now, you may have not experienced the humility of Bitcoiners online or here on X, especially some of these maxis that are slightly toxic. And so our show tends to move away more towards a civil discussion about Bitcoin rather than this toxic maxi that you may have run into. Other than that, these guys, they are humble in that they have had to question everything they've ever learned about money, about finance, about their governments. And they've drawn the conclusion that everything they thought was right was wrong. And that is the kind of person you want to hang around, someone that doesn't feel like they have all the answers, but is on a journey. You can meet these people in person at your local Bitcoin meetup. Almost every city here in America and across the world has a Bitcoin meetup that meets monthly or weekly. Anyway, this is what we talk about on Monday. Kendall runs a great show. She's our queen of meetups up in New York. And she does a great job. She actually runs a semi-online meetup on the Monday show. So if you're interested in learning about meetups, how they work, meet some people that are running them, they'll tell their story, and then we kind of run one. And so we wanted to kick the week off with talking about in-person meetups. Get to know your local Bitcoiners. Start doing business with them. Start doing trade with them. These are good people to have in your lives and to influence you. Not to mention they can help answer any of the questions that you might have as you're getting into Bitcoin, because sometimes you just want to look at the person in the eye that you're entrusting your wealth to and the future of your wealth. So that's Monday. All right, Tuesdays. Of course, my favorite are content creators. I believe that humans, when they're creating, they are at their finest. That being said, if there is a book inside of you, if there is a video inside of you, if there is a painting or a song inside of you, please don't take those to the grave with you. Set aside some time for you to create content and share it with the world. A lot of these videos here on YouTube are going to be entombed for all eternity. And if they're good content and they're bringing value, they will bring value to thousands and even millions of people long after your death. Some of this content is timeless. It doesn't get dated. A lot of the Bitcoin content about how to use operational security, like BTC Sessions does, a lot of that is timeless content. Opening up a hardware wallet, running a node, doing these things. One video of his he could have made years ago, looking towards the future. 50 years from now, that video might be 50 years old and still providing value to people. Milton Friedman is a great example of how his content still nearly in black and white, not quite, but still profound wisdom and old videos. And he produced most of that content before the internet was even a thing, right? Still providing content today. So if you are a content creator, BT Cosmonaut is our host there, a very gifted young man, one of the co-founders of the Bitcoin Daily. That's his show. And he goes out into the market and just finds unbelievable content creators, authors, comedians, you name it, brings them onto the show, and they get to share with you their journey about how they got into content creation and even the process of what technology do they use to create this content. So awesome show, 8 to 10 every Tuesday. Okay, Wednesday, this is our latest shift. We always wanted to create a 101 Wednesday, and Carl and Surfer Jim did an awesome job just taking the torch to just sit there and answer questions. But as everyone, we always have our seasons. We come in, help us out. Could not have launched that without them. God bless Carl and Surfer Jim for helping us launch that. But now our second, I think we're coming up, this is our third, Deanna and her husband Joel are PhDs, dedicated their life to education and higher education. They do a fantastic job of actually making this somewhat of a classroom. I wouldn't say classroom setting. She'd probably kill me if she heard me say that. But really is a 101. Let's start from the beginning. What is money? What is Bitcoin? Their second show, I think third show, is coming up this Wednesday. Don't miss that. This is probably one of the best 101 contents I've seen live online. So if you have a question live, you can just raise your hand. There's these little icons on the bottom where you can send a heart or a thumbs up or 100%, but all the way on the right-hand side is a little hand. If you raise your hand, request to speak, you can ask any question about Bitcoin. and we would love to answer it there live. So, and you can direct anybody to this. We try to keep it really fifth grade level 101, very consumable content for people new getting into Bitcoin. All right, so Thursday show. This is our energy and Bitcoin mining. Macro and Brad, both engineers, both. If you have those men in your life that love the physical side of things, maybe tinkerers or love to work on cars and stuff, Bitcoin has a side of that. For those of you new to it, it's called Bitcoin mining. These are the heavy duty computers that consume a lot of electricity. We also talk a lot about energy and grid scale production of energy. So we're talking nuclear powerhouse, huge dams, rivers that are dammed in these hydro facilities, renewables. We talk about petrochemical, you know, how natural gas and these what do they call them? The flares, where they would flare natural gas and just burn it off. Now we have people that are putting Bitcoin mines right there and recapturing that energy and producing Bitcoin, and rather than throwing it into the atmosphere. And so all forms of creating energy across the planet, Macro does a fantastic job of finding experts, literally global experts in the world of energy production. That this is their profession. And now, how does Bitcoin mining tie into this? Because as you may or may not know, there are two peaks throughout a 24-hour day. So imagine you're in the business of selling electricity. Really, you got to be ready for those two peaks. The other 20 to 22 hours a day, you're wishing you had a customer to buy your power, but you just don't have a lot of energy consumption when people are sleeping. Income Bitcoin mining that says we will buy all that unsold, cheap, idle assets, just not producing revenue. We'll buy all of that and mine Bitcoin with it, and then we'll throttle it down, turn it off so that you can sell to your peak times. And this just allows those very expensive assets, like look at a big nuclear powerhouse, like a big asset, okay, that's producing, but it's not producing much 20 hours a day, don't have a big client. So Bitcoin can come and solve that and actually spin up my energy, grid scale power plants much quicker across the planet because of the way that they can now monetize these assets. Okay, that's every day on Thursday. Friday, Tracy and Hector. Wow, Bitcoin is life. They go and find people that are just have made Bitcoin their life and incorporated it into whatever they were doing. A great example was Bitcoin Veterans. She had those about a month ago, and these are veterans that are now fired up about Bitcoin and what it does to their life and sovereignty and protecting private property. Another great example was she had Texas Slim, which is the founder of the Beef Initiative, and he came on and talked all about how our food, our supply chain and food are from our farmers to our cattlemen. And this guy grew up as a cattleman and is now a Bitcoiner. And what a great story. It was there was so much great content there. They're going to do, I can't remember if it was 3 or 4 more episodes of, oh, and you know what? I've got these little things. Let me click these. Let's see. Bitcoin is Life. Bitcoin is Life, Tracy and Hector. So don't miss their show. There's always something new. They had someone that created a board game out of Bitcoin to teach, kind of like Monopoly. Very well designed, and just to make it a fun game to understand what Bitcoin is and how it works. So that's our Friday Bitcoin is Live show with Tracy and Hector, both super gifted hosts. By the way, all of our hosts are super gifted and getting better every day. Okay, so Saturday we have TJ, Frank, and Mark that do a Wall Street wrap-up. So if you want to know how Wall Street thinks, you have these people that are called Wall Street analysts. Frank and Mark, this is what they do professionally. Okay, they have taken a big chunk of their life and career to understand institutional money, institutional mindset, traditional finance, how Wall Street thinks. These are also men that have done a deep dive into Bitcoin to understand it so that now you've got a rare mind that understands how Wall Street thinks and understands a very large amount of what Bitcoin is and can kind of help us sort through this new institutional money that's coming in across the planet. It's one of my favorite shows because I am a student in that area. So I help kind of start the show. Of course, TJ is the guy that runs the show. He is a CFO. He's an accountant by trade. So you've got some really good minds on there to help you understand what that is. For those of us trying to understand what this looks like when all this big banking institutions and governments and money managers pile into Bitcoin as a safe haven for money and assets and value to be held up. Love that show. Now, on Saturdays, we have a second show that immediately follows, 10 to 12 Eastern. Fox from Spain runs a great show called Bitcoin at the Frontier. And this is where he, so you may have heard that, but these circular economies that like El Salvador and Bitcoin Beach. Well, that's not the only one. There's over 50 that he's identified that are literally not waiting on the hyper Bitcoinization of the planet. They're just going right now and trading among themselves, having these circular economies. And so he finds these people and brings them onto the show. Unbelievable show. It really helps you get a grasp around the global problem that Bitcoin is addressing in all corners of the planet. This is not just an American thing or a European thing or a techie thing. This is any place there's money and value and exchange and commerce going on thing. Bitcoin swoops in and fixes it, and you don't need permission. Any little African town can start using Bitcoin right now. They don't need to get approvals from some exchange or something or other. They just go. They download a wallet and they exchange, just like gold coins, except they're digital. And lastly, Philosophy Sunday is a show I host. I know that I have been a lover of truth, a seeker of truth, a seeker of meaning. What is life all about? What is love? What is kindness? You know, and that's what we talk about, because mainly the philosophy content was hijacking so many of the other shows that we were like, you know what? Let's just dedicate a whole show on Sunday to Philosophy Sunday. Sometimes we're just talking philosophy and don't really cover a lot of Bitcoin content, but you know, Bitcoiners, they always find a way to bring it back to Bitcoin, and they do. So that's our lineup, Monday through Sunday, 8 shows, 8 to 10 a.m. Eastern, 8 to noon on Saturdays. Great content. Thank you to all of my hosts. They are really doing a fantastic job. They do all the heavy lifting. We've got a lot of people behind the scenes working their tail off to produce great content, and it's only getting better. I cannot wait to see where this team goes in 6 months. Also, a couple announcements. I have launched, for those of you that might not know, I used to be an entrepreneur, semi-retired. Now I'm looking for what I'm going to do with my life. I met the Bitcoiners, decided I wanted to launch this and help see where that went. Of course, that got me into carnivore diet. Next thing you know, I'm eating grass-fed beef and even volunteering last week to work Tuesdays and Thursdays on a ranch here in Louisiana next to New Orleans. I can't tell you how therapeutic it is to be among the cattle, to be among the horses, to be among these cowboys. It's like I'm on Yellowstone. I even started watching Yellowstone for the first time. My wife demanded that I do that. So you never know where Bitcoin's going to take you. I'm also picking out a cow next week. We're going to bring him to the butcher, going to hang him for 2 weeks, and then we're going to cut him up, and I'm going to divvy it up among my family, and probably get into the cattle business or the beef business. Who knows? I am an entrepreneur, so I'll figure out some way to make that my life. And then I've also launched 3 Bitcoin meetups. So if you are in South Louisiana, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday weekly, we have a meetup going on Tuesdays, 6 to 9 p.m. in Lafayette. On Wednesdays, 6 to 9 in New Orleans. And on Thursday, the Tuesday meeting is the Baton Rouge meeting. And on Thursdays in Lafayette. And those are weekly meetings. Most Bitcoiners only do monthly meetings, but here in Louisiana, we want to show everybody how to do it correctly. We appreciate y'all giving these half-hearted attempts at Bitcoin meetups. Louisiana's getting ready to show you how to do it correctly. I'm sure I'll get a lot of flack for that, but you know, it's all in fun. It's okay. Y'all can now fight over second and third place here shortly as Louisiana takes the crown jewel of the Bitcoin meetups. Love my Bitcoiners. I'm sure Kendall's going to be throwing some stuff at me tomorrow for her Bitcoin meetup meeting. So anyway, love you guys. Thank you all so much for listening in each day. It's a pleasure serving y'all. Let us know what we can do better. Like and subscribe to the channel. Also, please follow all of our hosts. They put out great content, not just on their 2-hour segment, but even in their Twitter or X feed. Me, I try to, but these guys are pros, and I'm just kind of faking it up here, thinking that I know how to run a Twitter account. But it has been a blast. Thank y'all so much. Tune in again tomorrow, and I will see y'all in the morning, 8 a.m. at the Monday meetup here at the Bitcoin Daily Show. Thanks a lot, guys. Have a great day.